Hi, I'm Dave Logan with the Omix-ADA Jeep collection. We have 36 vehicles in our Jeep collection at this time. One of them is this 1947 Willys station wagon. This was one of the first post-war Willys designs. It is two-wheel drive. They didn't make four-wheel drive until 1949. It's nicely restored, and it has the authentic Coker tires on it. One of the things that we look for when we restore a Jeep for our collection is authenticity. And so it's one of the few places you can find these tires. So after the World War II, when Willys came back to the civilian market, one of the innovations they had was with this station wagon was they were all steel. Prior to that, there had been wood involved in the framework, and they were called woodies. But during the war, they learned how to stamp large steel panels, and so the roof is all one panel, the sides and so forth. So that was kind of an innovation, and these vehicles are basically the precursor to modern SUVs. In 1946, when these wagons began production, they were still using the flathead four-cylinder Go Devil engine that they had used during World War II. So that's the engine. It's got a T96 manual transmission. They're two-wheel drive, so that's pretty much it. There's no transfer case or front axle on it. So after World War II, when the GIs came home and Willys started producing civilian vehicles, the station wagons were perfect because the baby boom occurred. Families were growing larger and larger. They needed a nice wagon. And so this vehicle was very popular. Believe it or not, right now, today we like four-door vehicles, easy to get in and out of, but it was fairly easy to get in and out of these seats and out of these vehicles with the fold and tumble seats. They didn't have seat belts to worry about getting in the way, so it's actually pretty accessible. So after World War II, Willys was trying to come up with civilian design, and they wanted a variety. They had the station wagon for the families, but they wanted a sporty two-door roadster convertible for insurance salesmen, business people, the Hollywood type, and so forth. So they came up with what we call the VJ Jeepster. It's two-wheel drive, and again, pretty fast. Ours had, well, relatively speaking for a Willys, but it has the flathead six-cylinder. Most of them came with four cylinders. So this example is a late 1949. It has the Lightning engine in it. Again, it's two-wheel drive, but very popular, very desirable. And when people come through, this is one of the stunners that people stop and look at and admire. It has the wide white wall tires, the correct bias ply tires for it, and it's very hard to find these days. So we're lucky to have it all original and looking correct for that period. Willys is known for their Jeeps, and again, farm Jeeps, agricultural Jeeps, very utilitarian, military Jeeps. They were not known for style or luxury, but this vehicle kind of broke the mold. It was very different than anything else in their product line, and it has the turned engine gauges, and it has the big steering wheel and so forth, and very comfortable, very smooth, very quiet. And they only sold 19,000 of them, but it was very popular at the time. Well, this is a 1966 Jeep Wagoneer. It's the second generation of wagon or SUV. Four-door. They did make two-door models, but the four-door models were a lot more popular. It has a very unique grille called a Rhino grille. It's very popular. And so now this vehicle is a much larger, much heavier, and a much stronger drivetrain. It doesn't have the little four-cylinder anymore. It has a Vigilante V8 327 engine. And I kind of love the fact they called it a Vigilante. They came up with some pretty creative names for their engines. But it helped this vehicle a lot. And as you can see, there's a little trailer out back and had enough power to haul a small trailer and take the family on road trips and vacations. So this vehicle has 17,000 original miles, and when we got it, it was in pretty decent shape, no rust or anything. But there was a fair amount of work that needed to be done. And one of the things that I commonly find is people have put different wheels, modern tires, the hubcaps are missing and so forth, and I have to go back and get all that. So I was able to find the correct wheels and actually some pretty decent hubcaps. But of course, tires are always an issue. And so I went to Coker and I was able to get the right pie cut type tire, the bias ply tire that I needed to really make this authentic. And that's what we are doing with the Omix-ADA Jeep collection, is we go for authenticity. We want that original look. If you're going to spend all the time, effort, and money to restore the vehicle or rebuild the vehicle, having the right tires makes a big difference. So this is a 1964 Fireball trailer. Anything that says Fireball on it, I kind of like. It's just kind of cool. And these type of trailers are vintage mid-60s, like I said, it's 64. They were known as canned hams because of the shape of them and the aluminum sides on them. But they're pretty cool, and again, they were commonly used behind these Wagoneers and station wagons. I remember as a kid, my family had one a little bit bigger than this. It was actually a different brand. but these were common in the campgrounds at state parks and national parks all over America. After the original station wagon, after the Wagoneers, these vehicles evolved into the Grand Wagoneer. So these were the iconic luxury station wagons or SUVs of the 1980s and early 90s. This is a 1990 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, and it had the paneling on the side. It had luxurious thick carpet and power everything, power tailgate windows, six-way seats, all that stuff. And so this was the top of the line at that time. Now, today it looks a little dated with the paneling. We joke it looks like they forgot to take it out of the crate, but again, this is a big V8, big thirsty V8, gets 5 to 6 miles to the gallon. It's a nice big 360 in it. But this was what the doctors and the business people wanted and drove. And there's a lot of people who come up to me with family memories growing up in the back of these vehicles. So this was the next evolution before we got into Grand Cherokees and more modern vehicles. Well, you know, Willys eventually became Jeep, and of course Jeeps are more popular today than they ever are. They've sold over 2 million of the JK Wrangler edition, and this is one of them behind. It's one of the most accessorized vehicles available. You can put anything you can imagine on it, and that's one of the cool things is you don't have to buy it off the showroom and just drive it. You can put lifts and tires and, you know, tube doors and roof racks and lights and winches and bumpers, and the list is endless. So it works out really well for us and for the general public. Everybody wants to have their own cool, unique vehicle. And this is one of the few where you can take the doors off and you can fold the windshield down or roll the top back and really enjoy the experience of driving, unlike getting in one of these sedans that are so quiet with Bluetooth and 17 cup holders.